Well, thank you for staying with us here on Weather Underground. Appreciate you following the story along with us. Alex Wilson, Mike Bettis. We've got breaking news out of Baltimore, Maryland. A huge search operation underway to find as many as 6 people missing after the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapses during this morning's interaction with a cargo ship.
Yeah, it's a race against time and against frigid water temperatures right now to find 6 contractors who were working on the bridge filling potholes at the time the bridge collapsed into the river. Now, there are still questions as to how many vehicles may have actually been driving over that bridge at the time when it collapsed. That could be in the water. They're using equipment to try to find it out. But it was a cargo container ship, as Mike mentioned, that Dali was the name. It lost power shortly before 1:30 this morning. It crashed into one of the main supports of the bridge. The ship did issue a mayday call, but it was going too fast to change course. It hit the bridge head on around 9 miles an hour.
The 1.6-mile bridge then collapses in just a matter of minutes, sending at least 6, but maybe more people into the water. Again, we do not know exactly the numbers right now. Tragic scene as then the sun comes up. No doubt emergency crews, including U.S. Coast Guard, on site now. Dive teams and assets from all over frantically searching for survivors that might still be alive in that water.
Yeah, apparently they were able to at least close the bridge or stop additional cars from going out over it, but with over a mile of span, there may have been a few vehicles on it. Authorities have said sonar has been used to detect vehicles in the water. That water's about 50 feet deep in this location, and Baltimore firefighters have said several vehicles were likely on the bridge, including a tractor trailer. It came down in the middle of the night. It was just after 1 o'clock in the morning. A 1.6-mile stretch, though, of bridge is what has collapsed.
And I want you to listen now as President Biden talked about the latest developments at a press conference in the last hour.
I spoke with Governor Moore this morning, as well as the mayor of Baltimore, the county executive, both United States senators and the congressman. And my Secretary of Transportation is on the scene. I told them we're going to send all the federal resources they need as we respond to this emergency. And I mean all the federal resources. And we're going to rebuild that port together.
Now, the collapse almost sure to create a logistical nightmare, probably for months, if not maybe even years, along the East Coast here, shutting down ship traffic at the Port of Baltimore, snarling cargo and commuter traffic as well.
Yeah, this was the what was known as the Baltimore Beltway. It was the outer loop of 695 over the Baltimore Harbor. A lot of people in that city, very familiar, use this often. So, unfortunately, that is obviously out of play. And so traffic is going to change, and I'm sure it's going to be worse in many areas.
It definitely will be. As many as 11.3 million people across that bridge every year. We wanted to talk a little bit more about that coming up a little bit later in the show, but want to also focus on some of the weather you'll be dealing with today in the Midwest. That includes a live look here at Grand Rapids, Michigan, where the current temperature is 54 degrees. So we look over Grand Valley State here. We've got more rain, more thunderstorms potentially in our forecast as well here. And so I want you to be heads up, especially if you're driving today, and what the conditions might be, what you might encounter here. So let's hand it over to Alex for another look here at the Great Lakes State.
Yeah, we've got this low, obviously, still bringing us the snow and the wintry weather, but we've got a rainy side of this, and we've even got some storms right now developing across parts of lower Michigan into Indiana, and eventually northwest Ohio. You will be in play as well. So notice that moisture extending into this zone. There's the low. You can see that area of spin. Of course, up here, we've got a lot of the wintry weather that continues. Places like Minneapolis, you went back to snow. You had rain yesterday, a cold rain. Now you're back to snow with more accumulations possible. Severe weather today possible for places like Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo. Lansing, we'll be watching Ann Arbor. Detroit and Toledo, an isolated chance for you. The better risk is in that area in brighter red. Fort Wayne, Indiana would be another spot to watch. We've got some thunderstorms right now developing, and then the anticipation is over the next few hours, those get a little feistier as they continue to move off towards the east. Indianapolis right now reporting 60 degrees with rain. You can see, though, some of those showers and storms starting to bubble up. So right now we're seeing the rainfall rates increase. Would not be surprised to see some lightning out of these as well. But here at the intersection of Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio is where we're most likely to see some of the worst of the weather over the next few hours. A few lightning strikes north of I-80 south of Kalamazoo, and those storms again continue to move off towards the east, tapping into at least some available energy. It's pretty low, but at least something out there. And you can see the future radar does pick up on those heftier thunderstorms as we move through the next few hours. So gusty winds would be the main concern with this. You can see that line extending from lower Michigan all the way down to about the Ohio River. As we make our way into the mid-evening, still gusty thunderstorms. Again, I think Detroit, you could see some sub-severe gusts for sure. Maybe a severe thunderstorm warning for Toledo as well. As those storms work into the Cleveland, Erie area, you can see much much weaker in look, and much weaker is the expectation here as we move into the overnight hours. Just don't have the energy to work with once we get farther off to the east, and obviously you lose any of that daytime warming. Detroit, next few hours, gusty winds, winds 20 to 25 miles out of the south. We've got the thunderstorms arriving for the late dinner time, early evening hours. So I'd say 7, 8, 9 o'clock. Bring the best chance of storms there in Detroit. Mike.
All right, Alex, thank you for that. We also know there's a winter component to all of this. You take a look right now at Marquette. It's 45, but you don't go far away. Just a little bit to your west. It is really chilly and really snowy. I see a little bit of white on the ground there. We freshened it up a bit for you here recently, but you notice that the lake is unfrozen right now, and that may be playing a role in the weather you're getting right now in the Arrowhead of Minnesota. I'm going to show you that here in just a second, but again, winter wonderland in some places for us here. You take a look at the totals that we've seen so far. Duluth, you may be on the receiving end of some lake-enhanced snow here. You're 17 inches of snow so far with the storm, and on down the line here, a lot of places here that have picked up at least a foot of snow, with the biggest concentration outside of Minneapolis, then up toward the Arrowhead here. Those are the places that have had the biggest amounts of snow out of this. We still have winter storm warnings in effect here, northeastern Minnesota through the Arrowhead. Winter weather advisories in other locations does include the Twin Cities down toward Mankato as well. Light accumulation in your forecast. I'd put it at less than an inch, probably in the Twin Cities here. You can see the spiraling nature to all of this, and you can see the flow here. I'm going to point out one thing in particular, the flow here into the Arrowhead of Minnesota and around Duluth. Do you see the direction here? It's going in this direction, right? So this is Lake Superior right here. And as we showed you in the picture there around Marquette, which is right here, the lake is unfrozen. It's been very, very mild most of the winter. And so we've got open waters here. Might actually be enhancing some of the snow here because of the wind direction. This is why we've maximized the biggest totals there in the Arrowhead. So again, just something to keep an eye on. In Duluth, we're 19 degrees right now, 24 in Minneapolis, no picnic here, and 15 with snow coming down for you in International Falls. Really chilly numbers for this late in the season. We've got warm southerly air here, that's all rain. We've got cold northerly air here, that's all snow. And at times today, the winds might be gusting upwards around 40 miles an hour. That low is exiting today. The snow could still be there, though, later on this afternoon and this evening. Probably not done for you until sometime overnight tonight. Heaviest pockets will be about 3 to 5 inches. Everyone else gets less than that. Again, I think around the Twin Cities, probably less than an inch from this point going forward. As far as the seasonal snowfall totals go, you can see the numbers here in the left-hand column, but look at this number here in the right-hand column. Still, even after the snow we got over the weekend, the snow we got now, we still have departures across the board, Alex.
Heavy rain brought on flash flooding in northeast Louisiana. Our storm tracker Charles Peak was out on the roads. He ran into this scene yesterday in Caldwell Parish, just to the south of Monroe. Obviously, the water pretty deep, moving pretty quickly, and law enforcement was there. You can see them in the back, keeping an eye on the road conditions. Eventually, they did close this section of highway until the water subsided. Right now, we're watching storms with heavy rain moving through parts of the Gulf Coast area. We look at Panama City, Florida right now, 74 degrees with winds around 25 miles an hour. It is cloudy. The surf is kicked up, and thunderstorms possible across this I-10 corridor in western Florida over the next few hours. This is where the storms are punchiest today, and they're approaching Panama City. So we've got some lightning, more of that off to the north, honestly, closer to the I-10 corridor. That's where we've seen more of the lightning strikes and more of the heavy downpours. Those areas of orange and red indicative of the rain that's really coming down and going to cause visibility issues on the interstates. In Atlanta, we've seen a few lightning strikes in the northern suburbs up towards like Woodstock and Canton. We do have some heavier rain moving into downtown right now. So obviously monitoring things at the airport, but nothing super potent that should cause some significant issues. Obviously, takeoff's not going to be super pretty with all that cloud cover and the rain overhead. Next few hours, we'll see the rain showers move off towards the east. So Atlanta, you'll be drying out, I think, by mid-evening, probably 7, 8 o'clock. You can see the rain moves off towards the east. We've got that thunderstorm chance staying down near the Gulf Coast of Florida, South Georgia. Oh, I have a... I scared it away. We're good. Tomorrow, we've got thunderstorms possible for parts of 75, for parts of 95, for parts of I-10, Daytona Beach, Jacksonville. There is nothing worse than a failed sneeze. That was the most unsatisfying thing ever. Future radar. We've got the thunderstorms tomorrow morning. We've got thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon for parts of North Florida. So got to watch 95, got to watch I-10, got to watch I-75 really all day. And not only could storms be punchy, but obviously, Mike, you get in those big time downpours and you got big time problems when it comes to seeing and puddling on the roads.
100%. There's no question about that. We might also be watching for some heavy rain or some flooding up into the Northeast later this week as well. That is a virtual view of beautiful New York today. Your weather's pretty decent, but some more rain's coming back into play here, and at times maybe even some heavy rain. I think some of the heaviest of rain may actually be just a little bit farther south of you, maybe back down toward the Delmarva or even to the Carolinas, but we're definitely getting some rain in New York, and it's been a wet year for us so far. It's been a wet month. You take a look at some of the numbers. Again, to begin the month, came in like a lion, didn't it? First several days, first week of March was really, really wet for us. Got a little bit of a break week 2, and then week 3 came along, and boom, we got nailed, including this Saturday. We had more than 3.5 inches of rain that came down just on Saturday alone, and now we're going to go back into another wet pattern. So we've got this low late in the week on Thursday off the coast here, but still close enough that we've got rain up and down the eastern seaboard here. Some of the heaviest of rain, as I alluded to, is probably going to happen down in the Carolinas through the Delmarva here. Some pockets of 3 to 5 inches of rain is on the way for us here. That will cause some isolated flash flooding. Where does that flooding begin? Well, tomorrow it's likely going to be down through the Panhandle, Florida, North Florida here, and then up through South Georgia, but it could extend as far north as like a Virginia Beach or Norfolk here. But you also take a look, I say Thursday through Friday, that could extend a large portion of the East Coast here, goes all the way up into New England. So just something to keep in mind with that low again, that's pushing everything in that direction. Where do we stand today? The rain from Buffalo to Pittsburgh, Charleston, West Virginia, back down to like a Knoxville, Tennessee, Atlanta, Georgia. These are all places that are getting wet, and that whole system is on the move. So here it comes eastbound, and as it does, it gets the I-95 corridor wet here. So here we are tomorrow evening. Thunderstorms farther south, so it could be like a Richmond down toward Raleigh and beyond, and then rain north of there. That'll include Philadelphia and Newark and New York, all the way up through, say, Boston, Hartford, and then up through Maine. That whole system ending, and by Friday evening, I'd say the whole system's almost completely gone. Still windy and maybe changing to a little bit of snow at the tail end of the event for you there in Maine. How much is on the way? I think for most of it's somewhere between 1 and 2 inches of rain. There'll be smaller pockets where you get 2 to 3, and then this area in here where 3 to 5 inches is on the way for you here. It goes heads up for you in like Elizabeth City up toward Virginia Beach. Those are areas where isolated flooding is a real possibility, Alex.
All right, staying in the Mid-Atlantic, I want to get back to that breaking news of the devastating bridge collapse in Baltimore, Maryland. We have a major search and rescue operation that's underway. 6 people are still missing at this hour, and an unknown number of vehicles are being looked for. They may have fallen into the water during the early morning hours. There is uncertainty as to how many vehicles may have been on the bridge. The guess is that there could have been at least 1 tractor trailer as well. Now, that ship experienced some kind of power issue. The ship's crew did issue a distress call. That Mayday call may have actually undoubtedly saved lives. Maryland's governor said that officials were able to stop more traffic from getting onto the bridge in the moments before it collapsed. But, of course, there is an understanding that a few of those vehicles may still have been on the bridge when it did go down.
All right, so I want to give you a real detailed look at the harbor here and what may have played out. We know that the ship was docked right here. Now, I also want to point this out. So there's a major interstate that runs right through here, okay? But there's a tunnel that runs under the river right here. Back in the 70s, this became very, very congested. It had a lot of population growth, and they decided they wanted to build another tunnel that connects Searles Point down toward Hawkins Point. They did a study on that. It just wasn't feasible economically. They decided to build a bridge instead, and so this bridge was constructed and completed in 1977 that connects these two land masses here, but it's about 1.6 miles wide.
Yeah, so this is a long span of bridge. As you pointed out, there are 2 main pillars or support structures for this bridge. One of those, unfortunately, was the one that was compromised. As we mentioned, this boat was moving around 8 to 9 knots. They were able to issue that Mayday call, so they were able to prevent additional vehicles from driving out onto it. However, there were people filling potholes, so there were work crews out there just after 1 o'clock in the morning, and there were understandably so, at least a few vehicles, we believe, on that boat, or on that bridge.
8 construction workers total. 2 were rescued, 1 with no major injuries. 1, unfortunately, is in critical condition. Search is still ongoing for 6 others. It was this support pillar right here is the one that was struck by the cargo ship. It was coming from dock and then was going out the Chesapeake Bay, but unfortunately lost power. There was some sort of power issue, we believe, where it lost steering, and then it ran right into that pillar.
Yeah, and as you can imagine, this time of year, coming off the winter, water temperatures still very cold here in the river, so efforts are urgent to get folks who may be trapped in the water out of the water, with water temperatures in the 40s, right around the low 50s. Hypothermia, unconsciousness sets in a pretty short period of time. Honestly, we're already past that window.
Yeah, and you see the 2 large supports, and then there are supports that run off of that, but most of the traffic goes through those 2 main portions, those 2 main pillars right there, and that's the tallest portion of it as well, so the big ships can go underneath it. It's 185 feet from the bottom of the bridge down to the water.
Yeah, so obviously a long fall. We talked to Coop. He said there's a ton of debris, which is going to make it very difficult for any rescue crews who are out there trying to identify vehicles or identify anybody who needs rescue, because look at all that metal that came down with that bridge.
A good section of this, at least from this support all the way to the left-hand side of your screen, went into the river, unfortunately. And we got a lot more to come here on Weather Underground. Of course, more on the threat of heavy rain that's now pushing across the south. We're going to show you the timing, where concern is increasing for some flash flooding.
Yeah, and we want to remind you to stay tuned to the Weather Channel app on your smart TV. You can see our complete coverage with the latest radars and warnings. Visit streamtwc.com for more information.